So today our guest was David Oakley. Now, David's a local Birmingham guy who has created a multi-million-dollar real estate company, the Oakley Group. So they take some homes, and it's a very, very different concept. You will go through his journey through going through this and being involved in business and making these monstrous deals to first marriage, second marriage, and now just totally loving life and what God's doing in his life. So I know you're going to enjoy my conversation with David Oakley. David, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, David, I want you to give me the 30-second elevator version of who you are, and then we can dive right in there.
30 seconds. Okay. North Alabama. I'm from Florence, Alabama.
Okay.
Son of a school teacher and an electrician, Steve in Georgia, Oakley. And moved to Birmingham on a scholarship to Samford University in the big year of 1999.
That's right.
And studied accounting at Samford, and then found my way into real estate. So now I'm all multifamily development and real estate. I've got 3 kids, a 4-year-old, 2-year-old, and a 6-month-old, and married a girl from my hometown.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead and hand him that.
Thank you. Is that 30 seconds?
That's perfect.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
It's my wife, David.
Lifesaver. Hi. It's a Monday. I just need a little pick-me-up.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's great.
We still good, Luke? Oh yeah, we're all okay. So real estate. So tell me about this. When you talk about real estate, it's so broad. What do you do in that? And the second question is, why does it matter?
Gosh, that's a good question. I actually love how you use your hands when you ask questions, because that means you're really into it. I use my hands a lot when I talk. So what do I do real estate-wise? So I live and breathe multifamily.
Okay.
When I came out of school at Samford and I was an intern with Harbert in 2002, I thought multifamily was sort of like the used car sales business or something. I thought it was a little greasy, like, what's up with that? A little greasy, and I was like, I went to the public school system, I kind of seen a lot, did a lot, before I got to Samford, and Samford felt a little bit like a culture shock for me the other way around, because I was used to more
school teacher, electrician life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when I was me and my small brain thinking about multifamily, I thought I didn't know what to think about it. So as the layers continued to peel off and I learned more about multifamily, it was as sophisticated as you wanted to make it. So. Yeah. Institutional funds and REITs and on, down to the mom and pop. So what do I do? In the beginning, as an intern, I learned how to cold call and call on owners, typically mom and pops, and I was calling to see if they would entertain an offer to sell their property, because I worked for a brokerage company.
Okay.
That was my introduction in. There's several ways into multifamily, which we'll talk about later, but I came in through the way of an internship on the investment sales side.
So higher level. A lot higher level than like owning a 10-unit apartment complex.
I mean, I guess you could say it's higher level, more of seeing the whole stage, not being on the stage, not owning and going to Lowe's, Home Depot. Like, I was really seeing it from the outsider looking in, like, why do these people own it? And why do they want to continue to hold? How do you establish a value for it? Like, all those questions filled my mind as I learn more and more about it. So really that translated into about a 20-year career in brokerage.
Right.
And then now I've in 2020 I transitioned into ownership full time and development.
Okay.
Why do I do it?
Yeah.
Man, I love people. If you go to our website, which is oakleygroup.com, it'll say we love apartments because people live there. Yeah. And I always tell people, like, what's the real asset in multifamily? Mm-hmm. If you think about it. Yeah. Is it the roof structure? Is it the plumbing, electrical? No, it's the people. Yeah. Because if you don't have the people, if you don't have a rent roll and the people don't live there, then you have no asset. No. That's the lifeblood of a community, are the people. And I always go back to, Jesus was a carpenter. And I want to feel like, I feel like he probably was framing homes for people to live in.
That's good.
And so I love that part of what we do.
Yeah. Okay, so take me back to North Alabama. You got a mom that's a teacher, just like me. Mm-hmm. Mom and dad were both teachers and coaches. And you had dad that's an electrician.
Yeah.
So tell me about growing up, what you were into because a lot of times people can't relate to a guy that owns a multifamily syndication and all these. Okay. Tell me about growing up. What was that like, so that people can get an understanding of where you came from?
Yeah. Well, mom and dad are both just beautiful people inside and out, and they just, we came home. I've got one older brother, 18 months older than me, and I was 5, he was 7. And we came home one day, and Mom sat in the driveway. We had a little 2-car garage. She kind of stopped in the driveway. I'll never forget. And she sort of paused, and she said, "Hey, guys, just want you to know, Dad's not going to come home for a while." And they got a divorce. And that just really sunk in. And that really was a turning point for me, where I was like, man, I got to do something about this. And then it became, child support, and
sure,
we didn't grow up with a lot of extra money, so it was constantly, struggle over money and paying the bills and all that. So I always wanted to help solve a problem. That's just kind of how I'm made. And so I had a yard business growing up early age. I vacuumed cars. We had one of those built-in vacuum systems in your home. Our house is built in like 78, 81, and Dad built it with a local builder, and so he was smart enough to put a built-in. And so I'd hook up. My mom's teacher friends would come over from the elementary school, and I'd vacuum their cars for $5. And so I was always trying to produce and help and solve the issue of money.
When you did that, did you use that money? Like, I got an 11-year-old. 11-year-old wants to pressure wash and make money. And we sat there the other night for 30 minutes on Canva making a flyer. And so when you made that money, did you give it to Mom, or did you use it? Like, tell me, like, were you looking to go grow the business, or like, give me some thoughts there.
I didn't give it to Mom or Dad. I would pay for some of my own things.
Sure.
And I did travel soccer, and that would help with that. And then I hired some buddies in high school, and then they'd go buy beer money for them and date money for them. We'd go to the movie theater. But I was always trying to upgrade and go to the next level. So I remember when we got to a point where our little 20-inch riding mower wasn't enough.
That's right.
And we had to go upgrade. And I was like, I called Dad up. I was like, hey, I shopped around. I said, I found this great 36-inch cut, 3-blade riding mower, MTD at Walmart. And he's like, son, I just can't afford it. Wow. And it just crushed me.
Yeah.
I was like, how many other kids who are 12, 13, 14 are going to their parents and asking for a loan or to help me do more work, like in this fashion? But at the same time, it taught me a lesson, because if he had said yes, it had made it easier.
Sure.
And so with him saying no, I unpacked this term called layaway.
Nice. I have not heard. And the other people in the room are in their 20s, so they don't even know what the term layaway means.
Listen, it's one of the best things the Walton family did for me.
It is. Mom, we grew up on layaway.
And I was able to go in there on layaway and buy that mower, and it was incredible. And that led to getting a trailer to pull behind my 1991 Jeep Cherokee Laredo my dad did buy for me. Yeah. This is the only car you're going to get. Had 160,000 miles on it. And he said, this is it. Okay. He did the same thing with my brother. He got a truck. And so that was, those are so fun. Those are fond memories, because those were building blocks of my career. Even then, just looking back, of how do I make a way?
Sure.
How do I get from point A to point B?
Now, okay, so there's a bunch of stories here as far as your parents. Let's talk about that for just a second. So, was it a copacetic relationship of like they co-parented well, or do they freaking hate each other's guts? How did that go? Because that says a lot about how we view women, how we view men, and things like that. So tell me about that dynamic.
Yeah, it was more the latter.
Yeah.
We had the landline phones.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times those phones.
Rotary? Did you have a rotary phone?
We didn't have. We had those at our grandparents' house, sure. But we had more of the the push button. Yeah. But that phone would be, I don't know, it must have been extra durable, because it found its way on the floor, the wall. Wow. Like it was thrown.
Sure.
Many times, with the cord being the only thing that held it.
Yeah.
In its near proximity to the wall. Mm-hmm. So it was certainly, and I think that was part of my drive. And it wasn't until I got older in my life that I understood how much of an impact that had on my drive. And so much talk has been, between this thing called faith and fear, and that you could spend a whole hour talking about that. And do you live a faith-based life or do you live a fear-based life? And is it okay to be in fear as a Christian?
Right.
Is it okay to wake up and be in fear? I mean, we're called to be fearful of God.
We are.
And or is it just paranoia for fear of failure? Well, what is that? What does that mean? I mean, God kind of puts that in us.
Right.
So I struggled with that for a long time,
Yeah.
until I went to some counseling, and little did I know that my childhood was really driving this whole fear-based mentality of am I going to have enough? Is this going to be enough? So much of it was a unhealthy fear-based drive.
Right.
And so much so that I overlooked the value of the relationships that were in my life.
Wow. So through high school, you mentioned travel soccer. Were you into sports, playing sports in high school?
Yeah, we played in high school. I played basketball, soccer, and football. I was a place kicker, so I did kickoff, punt, and place kicking in high school at Coffee High School. It was Coffee Bradshaw in Florence, the Shoals, and they just combined. They combined in 2006, I think it was, to become Florence High School.
Okay.
Florence Middle School.
So you were there, and then you transitioned to Sanford. So Sanford's expensive. Did you, with a teacher mom and electrician dad, how did you get to Sanford?
Well, I've always been an overachiever.
Academically?
Let me translate that. Yes, academically.
Okay.
And I was always struggled with standardized tests. I mean, I was a 23 on the ACT.
Yeah, that's a lot higher than I did.
And struggled to get that.
Yeah.
I took the LSAT.
I'd have given my left arm for a 23.
Yeah. Well, it really, and it's gotten tougher these days, and so many kids beat themselves up, but it's so competitive now.
Yeah.
I mean, but Mom always wanted me to go visit Sanford. There was a professor at Coffee High School who went to Sanford, and I went and met with him, and he taught all these great things, and I was real concerned about it. I mean, all my friends were going to state schools. I had visited Oxford, Mississippi, and Tuscaloosa, and Auburn, and I kind of knew what that looked like. It was more, public school-like.
Correct.
And Sanford was, I grew up Southern Baptist, but, it didn't really feel like the ultimate college experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so I was a little bit against it in the beginning.
Okay.
And I visited campus, beautiful campus,
Wonderful.
but that wasn't my number one. I mean, I was looking for, am I going to have a good time? What's in it for me? Where are the ladies? And so anyway, we visited several college campuses. With my 23, I didn't get much of a scholarship anywhere else, except for Birmingham Southern. But Sanford offered me almost a full ride. And they based academic and leadership.
Okay.
And so they looked at all the extracurricular activities that I'd done in high school, and and I think it took meeting them in person, and it was fantastic. I mean, every year I was there at Sanford, it got better and better.
That's great.
We're still very active at Sanford, the business school, on the advisory board, and I love meeting with students and helping other people try to figure out their career paths.
Right. So growing up, from the time I was 5, I knew what I wanted to do. Like, there was no question about my path career-wise. Obviously, that changed when I got into my 30s. But did you grow up, because you've got the business owner thought process in you, in your soul, go to Sanford, did you walk in the door thinking, this is what I want to do? What did you go there, did you go looking for chicks and hanging out and having a good time? Or did you think, I think I want to do this? Or tell me about that.
No, I was driven, I was always driven from the fear of not having enough.
When you say having enough, you mean the fear of not having enough money financially?
Yeah, sure.
And I got you.
And the freedoms. I mean, maybe my parents will listen to this, maybe they won't, but there were times when I would, we weren't there were people way far less fortunate and that had less than us, but there were times when I'd go through the lunch cafeteria, and the lunch lady would say to me, David, if you don't bring your $1 in here, you're not going to be able to eat your lunch. And I was $10 behind. It's $1 for lunch. Yeah. And that just broke me. I was wow.
That's hard.
I was then you start looking at yourself thinking, am I not worth more than $1? I mean, like, you know what I mean? And so I unfortunately, but fortunately, thought that money cured more than money cures, you know. And as one guy, mentor, told me once, and I like this frame of mind for money, and it's oxygen. If you have oxygen in the room and it's easier to breathe, you can make better decisions.
Correct.
And I just got to the point where I wanted to work and have oxygen. So, but no, when I went to Sanford, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I dated a girl in high school. Her father was a CPA.
Okay.
And so we were high school sweethearts. She was 2 years younger than me. And so I graduated, and I go, you know, I'm thinking about Sanford. He said, you need to go and go to the business school. What do they offer as far as, you know, career and diplomas, whatever, in your studies? And I said, they offer business management and they offer accounting. He said, well, we know you need to pick accounting, right? CPA, 25 years. Yeah. And so I went the accounting route. I found it to be boring.
Sure.
I liked my professors. I liked my classmates. A lot. The things that actually I got most excited about had to do with real estate, vacation homes, secondary homes, rentals, how do you treat rentals. And so that it started to click and tie. And then when I did the internship with Harbert in the investment real estate side, with multifamily being the specialty, it really, the appreciation, cash flow, it just like, boom, yes.
So you get done with college, do the internship, and you transition into this. I guess you graduate in 2001-ish, something like 2003-ish. So you graduate in 2003, and you go right into a multifamily type internship.
Internship my junior year of college.
Okay.
Junior year, I asked to stay on part-time for a year. They say yes. Graduate May of 2003.
Okay.
Leave that real estate thing because I had a job offer at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Struggled with it. Like, do I take it? Do I not? They offered 4 positions to the whole senior class, and I was one of the 4. And I took it.
Doing
and I just doing audit work.
Oh.
And it was like grinding.
Death by
it was
Excel
like
spreadsheet.
grinding a gear. I was like cruising in like 6th gear with plenty of horsepower, grinding it down to scratching in a second, doing that internship. So I did that. They put me on in the attic of Tuskegee College that summer.
Pricewaterhouse?
2003, yes. Oh, gosh. Auditing, and the air conditioner was out.
Bro.
The only thing I looked forward to was going to Subway and thinking about what I was going to get on my Subway sandwich for lunch.
That bad.
It was that bad.
Did you feel the pressure? Okay, so this is a great question that I think a lot of people out there. So our audience is a pretty broad audience. There's 20-something-year-olds that want to be entrepreneurial and want to own their own business. And then there's probably guys like our age in their 40s and 50s that are still trying to figure this thing out. So did you take the job because it was more money out of fear because I got to pay the bills? Why did you take that job? Because you were having so much fun working for Harbert.
Yeah, I really wrestled. Well, I wasn't guaranteed the job with Harbert.
Okay.
So they knew I was leaving and graduating. And so I took the job. I remember calling a professor, mentor, Betsy Holloway, Dr. Holloway, who's still at Sanford, and she's wonderful. And I remember calling Betsy and saying, what do I do? And she's like, you know, you have worked so hard to get to be one of the 4. Because I had a 3.8 GPA, worked hard, long nights in the library, all that kind of stuff. To get this, you need to take it. And if you take it and don't like it, at least you know you took it and you didn't like it. And I was like, well, isn't that kind of selfish? Because there's like student A, B, C, D, I named a few, that are just like, would love to have this. Like they dreamed of being an accountant. Like, and I'm sitting in their seats. She was like, it's not selfish. Just take it, do it. And I did. I didn't like it. Called Harbert.
How long did you
3 months. 3 months.
Didn't even get to the fall.
No, it was a summer. You know, it was a summer situation. I called, and the guys at Harbert were calling me saying, "You ready to talk? You ready to talk? We knew you'd be. We knew this wasn't gonna go over well." And so I re-interviewed with them at Harbert. They were very big into rigorous interview process, and got rehired. And I was pumped, making $40,000 a year. Hey, Plantronics, hard. Not even the battery pack. The Plantronics headset into the computer, like just constantly on the phone.
Calling people.
Loved it.
So let's talk this. This is a big question these days is when you graduated from Sanford, did you have student debt?
Yes.
Or how much?
I don't remember.
Because
but
Sanford's pretty high.
It was probably around, $20,000,
Oh,
which in
okay.
today's dollars, maybe that's, 50.
Yeah. So nothing crazy, but still some
Yeah.
debt.
I always had part-time jobs
That's
when I was
great.
at Sanford. So if I am the 20-year-old, the 25-year-old, or I'm the, 17, 18-year-old still trying to figure out college, I always tell people, scratch all the itches, man. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
The first time I saw a big city was driving to Birmingham for the circus in Birmingham, and when I was 12, 13 years old, and seeing the big downtown towers. And I was like, man, I wonder what those guys do that sit up on those floors. And so I started dreaming. But no, I mean, I don't know where I was on that thought. But
No, I was just talking about the debt. And
the
did
debt.
you have any debt? Because a lot of, I know a guy that's got $100,000 of debt and makes $50,000 or $60,000 a year. I'm like, man, the math don't add up. So you take this job you go back to Harbert. Tell me about that transition. So you're on the phone all day long. What are you doing at 22, 23 years old?
I'm on the phone. I'm working late. I've got a great team. I'm learning a whole lot.
What are you doing? Who are you calling?
I am calling apartment owners, asking them if they would be interested in selling.
So this is a branch of Harbert. Harbert, for those of you who don't know, Harbert's a ginormous construction company here in Birmingham. They've got an international division. They've got a domestic division. They build stuff. I got a buddy that works there. They build stuff all over the planet.
Yeah, so there's two Harberts. There's one is the John Harbert side, and there's the other side is the Billy Harbert side.
Yeah.
The Billy Harbert side is more the construction.
Yes.
They build the embassies and worldwide, and then
Yeah.
the John Harbert side is more of a financial, investments platform.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was on the John Harbert side. And then when I came back, they actually rolled out to start Rock Apartment Advisors. So what was neat about that was the guys who were there at Harbert, they made a deal with Harbert to roll out of Harbert to create their own smaller little firm. And so I got to see a startup happen, which was great. I mean, from marketing to accounting to hires and fires, it was a small team that grew. And now, a lot of those guys I still keep up with. They've all gone on to do some pretty neat stuff.
So in the early days of calling, you're calling apartment people that own apartments and say, would you be interested to sell? Is that what you did every day? All day long for how long? How long did that happen?
I was there from 03 to 06. So, that was kind of my training grounds.
Yeah.
But you would call people, and really it was about being relational. If you just called and you're boring, I call it setting the hook. You're just another phone call, they hang up. If you call and you got something to give, here's what's going on in the market right now. How are you doing? What are your rents right now for your 2 bedrooms? Did you know that Jimmy down the street's getting $800? Are you at $650? Seriously?
Yeah.
Then boom. Then
you got their attention.
Yeah. And so a lot of what I was doing was just kind of meeting people, building relationships. And people would always, whenever people would meet me after the phone conversation, they would say, I can't believe you're 22 or 21. I thought you were 30, at least 30. Yeah. But no, then once you had somebody say, well, yeah, I would entertain. And some people would say, well, it's always for sale. Just,
Sure.
So then, you tell me that, I'm going to be in your driveway. What time are you going to be home?
What time you get off? Yeah.
And so that was a door cracked, and we would go open it more and then open it more. And then all of a sudden we were bringing offers, and then we're talking to their wives, the real bosses, and the wives were just like, all right, well, we'll sell, you know. So, we would do a lot of transactions, and I met a lot of friends through that. And, of course, you have to underwrite the deals and understand the cash flows. And then
let's go back to that. When you say underwrite, because there's somebody, I hear that term all the time, and when you say underwrite, what are some of our novice people out there that don't know what that term means? What does that mean?
Underwrite is just a overglorified term it's real basic. It's what's your income, what's your expenses, what's the debt service, your bank loan, and then what's left over, what's your cash flow.
Analyzing,
does the deal work?
Analyzing
does
it, does
2
it
plus
work?
2 equal 5? It's not chemistry.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's basic math.
So 03 to 06, you're there. Where do you transition after that?
So 03 to 06, I transitioned to start the Oakley Group.
Oh, so you're 24,
going on 25.
Wow.
Yeah, I turned 25 January 3rd. And I left and started the Oakley Group January 7th, 2007. I broke up with my girlfriend.
Okay.
I started 2 companies the same day. One was Select My Space, Inc., and a play off of MySpace.
Nice.
And then the Oakley Group, Inc., which became, a brokerage company. And the only reason I left my friends at Rock was leadership was going through a bit of I'm just going to say a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where the splits weren't right, and that same CPA, father of my high school girlfriend, he was a mentor. My dad was saying, "Man, you can do this," and I decided to leave, and I was scared out of my mind.
So you left to start the Oakley Group, and
2007.
so when you say start, what did you do? Like, what did y'all do? Did you start buying stuff?
No, we did. I did what I knew how to do, and that was broker apartment deals. So I went out and created a brokerage firm, and just instead of making $100,000 as a salary, I was producing about $1 million in revenue and getting 100. And that's a 90-10 split. That's simple math. In the real estate world and commercial real estate world, splits are, on a bad day for a producer, 50%. I mean, like you ought to be making 50, 60, 70%. A lot of times it's a tiered system. So I didn't recognize it. I thought I had the best thing in the world. I had a free gym membership to the YMCA, Mountain Brook, and a cell phone and book club. And I had a mentor bring me into his office one day. His name is Tom Hinton, still living, great guy. I hope he listens to this because he had a huge impact on me. And he goes, "Oakley, you're worth more than that." I said, "What?"
Okay, let's go back. Let's break this down. So you have $1 million apartment complex, good round numbers. You're brokering that deal. Mm-hmm. Talk about what brokering the deal means.
Okay, so let's just say you own a 20-unit apartment community out in Trussville, Alabama.
Yep.
I call you when I'm brokering. I would call you and say, "Hey, Tim. Hey, have you ever thought about selling this? I mean, the market's red hot right now. Interest rates are all-time low. I've got buyers coming in from out west that want to place some capital. One actually has a 1031 exchange. Like they need to place this before the end of the month. Like, this is a great buyer."
Right.
You would then say, "All right, well, what do you think it's worth?"
Yeah.
And then I'm going to underwrite.
Yep.
And tell you give me your financial statements, your rent roll.
Here's a rent roll. Here's a trailing 12.
And I get back to you, and I give you what we call a broker opinion of value, a BOV. And that broker opinion value says, "Hey, Tim, your property's worth, X to Y." It's usually a range.
$900,000 to $1 million.
$1 million too. All right, whatever. And you go, "Okay, well, if you hit that number, I'll pay you X." And it's usually, 2 to 6%. Of the sales price. All right.
So in essence, you're like a apartment real estate agent.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my license to get my real estate license is the same as my friend Rebecca's at Realty South,
who sells residential homes.
Yeah. Same license.
Okay. So you're trying to find deals for other people. Okay, Tom Hinton comes to you, and on that deal, you're only getting 10% now. What are you making off that deal? Sell it for $1 million.
So Rock Apartment Advisors had 4 or 5 producers like me.
Okay.
And we're all producing.
Right.
And so my production might have been let's call it $1 million, and I was getting paid a salary of $100,000.
Okay.
I wasn't getting any commission.
Okay.
So if you look at what each individual producer was bringing in versus what the salary was, that was a really good deal for the company at the time.
Sure.
At the same time, it was great training grounds, and I'm very much appreciative of that opportunity, but it wasn't market.
Gotcha.
It wasn't market. So
you were selling these places but only getting a salary?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but we had that good of a culture.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
And you were fine with
where
it.
you were like,
yeah,
it was a great family of friends.
So you're with Oakley and you're doing the same thing.
Now I was transitioned to Oakley, and that mentor, Tom, sat me down. He said, this was like October of 2006, and he says, "You need to buy that office building across the street." We're sitting on Cobb Lane, right behind Ocean Restaurant.
Yeah, I know exactly where it is.
And he said, "You need to buy that little 1-story building right there across the street, and you need to open your shop and do it yourself and make 100% of $1 million." right? And I go, man, I don't know if I can do that. Yeah, you can.
You're doing it.
So I did that. I didn't have any furniture. I borrowed Tom's fax machine. Elton Stevens Jr., EBSCO, he gave me a big round table to work on because I didn't have any furniture. And I was literally writing my deal flow down on the sheetrock with Sharpies. I didn't go buy the Post-it paper.
Yeah.
I just wrote on. And my brother called me one day. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Just come by the office and check this out. Let me show you my pipeline." "Well, just email it to me." I said, "No, come by. You need to see the board. You need to come over here and see the wall." So he did. But so we brokered, apartments. That was kind of the beginning of the Oakley Group. We brokered, not bragging, but it was a goal.
Yeah.
We made $1 million. That was my first million. Was the first year in 2007.
How much? So in that, did you have to sell 10 million?
No.
How much did you sell?
I don't even remember that. I don't remember what the gross amount of sales
was.
But
you took in $1 million, like the Oakley Group.
The fees were
right at $1 million.
The gross were $1 million.
Okay, so in this business, you don't have any assets. You got the humans. What did you do with the $1 million in order to grow the company?
Reinvested.
Okay, there's another term that everybody hears. I reinvested back in my company.
Yeah.
That is a very broad term. What did you take the $1 million and do?
Well, we bought some furniture.
Yep.
We bought some furniture. We hired people.
Human capital.
I had a 2008 Land Rover Discovery, and the shocks are terrible on those things, and the air shocks were blowing out on them. And I went and got a nice LX 470 because I was always in the car with
going
driving.
and seeing stuff, people.
And one thing Tom said to me was like, "David, your car is an extension of you and your office." I'm like, man, I was feeling really bad about buying this nice of a car until you said that. I actually tried to take it back to Tom Williams. They said, we don't take returns. And I was really happy.
This ain't Walmart.
I was really happy about it.
Yeah.
But that was, and so I kind of ramped up my tools and equipment and the people, and we just kept selling. So then think about this. So that was the first year in 2007.
So the first year you guys took in $1 million. That's incredible.
Yeah. And then 2008 hit.
Oh, God bless you.
Okay. But hey, it was okay. Like we still had a pretty good year in 2008. 9 and 10, that $1 million turned into 150 and 100. I mean, it was like big cut, but we made it. We made it through.
The people that made it through that without shutting their doors are the ones that are the long-lasting people.
And that's, we're going through a little bit of a phase of that right now. And I have a lot of people reaching out, younger professionals, like, what do you think is going to happen? And, when's so now the new phrase is coined, survive to 25. And if we could just make it from now to then, but see, we practice more of a thrive mentality, not a survive. So how do we thrive, right now?
I think there's a lot of opportunity now because people don't realize this. People like me, so we own multifamily too. Mm-hmm. So people like me that own multifamily, you get a loan. It's a 25-year AM, but every 5 years you have to renegotiate the rate.
Yeah.
Well, if you got a rate 4 or 5% 3 or 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, that rate's fixing to change.
Oh yeah.
And what happens is the rent roll is fine with a 4.5% rate. The rent roll is not okay with a 7.5 or 8% rate. And so, to me, people that have capital should be a good time. Agree or disagree?
Yeah. Cash is king right now.
So, people like you that are in your position, are y'all still actively buying?
We are.
Or are y'all more building and developing?
We're doing both.
Okay.
We're doing both. But we just bought a deal in Hopkinsville, Kentucky.
Okay.
A little 80-unit deal, smaller, but it was a 6.5 cap going in.
Okay.
Cap rate going in.
Class A, Class B?
It was Class A for that area, but generally nationally Class B.
Yeah, sure.
Good, clean property, stays full. We kept the same staff. And those deals are out there, but if you've got capital, I think you're going to start seeing a lot of good opportunities come around. Mm-hmm. And we've been patiently waiting. We bought 11 deals in 2021. We bought 0 in 22.
Didn't buy anything in 22.
Nothing. We bid, but the bid ask gap was 20-25%, because sellers were used to prices being here,
yes.
And we're underwriting, and we're like, no, it only makes sense here, and so you just had this.
A guy sent me a small thing today, and it was $460,000 for a rent roll of like $3,000. And I was like, I just sent back, oh, it's too expensive. Like that doesn't, the numbers there don't even work at all. I think people are trying to get out before it quote unquote really gets bad. I don't think it's going to be that bad though, David.
I don't think it's going to be like '08.
No.
I really don't. I think that the banks are in much better shape. There's more equity on the sidelines. The rules and regulations that came in after '08 have kept people pretty straight and narrow. So I don't think it's going to be horrible unless there's some, catastrophic event, headliner, nuclear, or something else that changes, like COVID.
Sure.
That changes the climate.
Okay, so going back to, you're at $1 million, you're right around that number, then you go to 100, 150. When you get into 09 and 10, how do you transition there?
All right, so 09 and 10, sometimes if you just be patient and be still,
sure,
doesn't mean you're passive and lazy. It just means, sometimes just be persistent, get up, do your routine, be in the right place. Yeah. And that's what was happening. I mean, the guys would come in the office. I had 3 other producers. There were 4 of us. We used to call each other the 4 horsemen.
That's right.
And everybody in the real estate business, was like gloom and doom and like, did you read the paper? And, concession here and this and that. And I was like, guys, we are not going to succumb to this negativity. Let's remain positive. It's infectious. So we just stayed on the phones. We stayed positive. We stayed active. And then, boom, one day I got a call from my friend Cole Whitaker at Berkadia out of Orlando. And he calls me and goes, Oakley, I heard, I got your name from the guys down at Harbert. And we're bidding to get a listing on 1,800 units that Wells Fargo has. They're going to do a write-down on it.
What's a write-down?
Whenever the bank has a deal, let's say they took it back from the borrower at $60 million.
They took it back 1,800 units back?
They took it back because the borrower failed, and this is in 2010. And so they were looking for a broker to sell the 1,800 units, which is a big transaction, bigger than I'd ever been a part of. And he said, but in your people down the street that you used to work with, they've already CB Richard Ellis has already tagged up with them as a team. I need somebody local. Can I come by and meet with you? So I'm like spraying air freshener, like trying to like straighten the conference room up.
The Sharpie off.
My Aunt Carol is working at the front desk, and I was like, is that embarrassing with that big tear in our conference room chair? She's like, honey, it'll be okay.
It'll be fine.
And so Cole comes in and quasi interviews me and then stands up after our little chit chat, and he's like, I can tell right now we want to do this with you. Let's do it. And so we pitched. We did that BOV, like I said, broker opinion of value, and we won the deal. And so 2010, it was like just quiet, nothing happening, to winning an 1,800 unit deal.
$60 million? What did it go for?
$60 million.
$60 million.
And then I got to relist it about 3 years later for a lot more than 60, maybe 120.
So you take that, okay? And that's just a relationship thing. We talk about it all the time. Luke and I talk about it all the time. But it's a this business that we're in, no matter what we're in, is relationships. So you get this $60 million deal. Where do you transition from there? Because that's a life-changing deal.
So that was a life-changing situation. And I'll tell you really quick, something pretty cool about that is we took it out to the market, and here I am, the Oakley Group with, Berkadia, and I brought in my buyers, they brought in theirs, and at the end of the day, we had the bid sheet, and there's Irvin Magic Johnson Fund has bid on it, and then there's a guy named Frank Bearfield in town with Abbey Residential, local, and we're on the call with about 30 people from Wells Fargo, Wachovia, and they go, who do we pick? And Cole, the senior, who brought me in as a junior local guy, says we should pick the Irvin Magic Johnson Fund. And they go, David, what do you think? I said, I think we should pick Frank Bearfield. And Cole was like, whoa, you just want to get, like, we should be together on this? I said, they go, well, why do you think that? I said, because I walked it with Frank, and he told me if I gave it to him, he would close. No questions, no exceptions, no extensions, no retrades. And I believe him because he had that look in his eye. And they were like, it just got quiet. So
you're like 28 or 29.
I'm like 27. Yeah.
$60 million. You're going against the guy.
Going against the head guy.
Because you believed it in your heart.
Yeah, and so then Wells Fargo, Wachovia, they go, you need to call Frank Cole, and you need to make sure this is what David's feeling is accurate.
He told you that, or he told
the banker said that to us, and so we ended up calling Frank, and he said, "You're absolutely right. I'll close." So we ended up picking Frank. Frank closed on time.
You picked Frank over Magic Johnson.
Yes. Then after we closed, I get a call from the owner of Berkadia.
Yeah.
And it was Hendricks and Partners that became Berkadia, and they flew me out to Phoenix, and they wanted to buy, and I was like, I'm really not interested in selling the Oakley Group. So we ended up doing a merger, acquisition, whatever, and I didn't get a dime for it, but I onboarded with a national firm, which Berkadia is a Berkshire Hathaway company.
Yeah.
Which led to a wonderful run from 2011 through 2020.
They bought you, or you?
They didn't buy me. I just became a part of their network.
So you still own Oakley Group?
I still owned it 100%,
Okay.
but we had splits. They had back office, and I had I had guys all over the country, and so you kind of banded together with, people would call me from Phoenix or Seattle or Los Angeles and say, "Hey, Oakley, I've got guys who want to build something in Montgomery," or so you became a part of a bigger network.
Part of a bigger network because of the relationship with these guys in Phoenix.
Correct.
That's incredible.
It was awesome.
All because
that
of
one phone
relationship.
Call, sitting still.
Wow.
Which I will tell you that relationship at Berkadia helped me see and realize how big of a world it is.
Sure.
I got to meet Warren Buffett in Omaha, and our team became the largest producers. We were number 2 in 14 and 15 in the country, and then we became number 1 in 16.
Producers of brokering multifamily deals.
Correct. Out of any other office in the country, and there were 50 offices in Birmingham, Alabama.
That's incredible.
So in Birmingham and Alabama, think about it.
Yeah.
The cost of gas is cheaper. The cost of real estate is cheaper. So we had to sell more
Yeah.
to get to what my peers in LA or
Wherever.
yeah.
Just
So
about
we were
anywhere.
we had a great team, and it hit me once when we went up for a dinner. We took all of our big buyers and sellers up to meet with Warren. It was a thing that we got to do. It was a nice little token of appreciation. And he said to the group, people were asking him questions and advice and all this. And he goes, one thing I'll tell you guys is don't sleepwalk through life. And that just really hit me. He's like, don't sleepwalk through life. And at that point in my career, I'd been brokering long enough to where I was kind of getting a little burned out on it. And I always wanted to own and buy things. I started buying things on my own account when I was in my 20s.
Okay.
And I wanted to keep doing more of that. And I got to the point where, I owned about 1,000 to 1,500 units, some with partners, some without, where I was like, man, it'd be kind of cool if this is all I did. If I could just grow this portfolio. Like, I love this part of it. I love the creative side of owning, developing. And that was the moment where Warren Buffett actually talked me without knowing, told me to leave. Like, that was my sign. It's like, I'm sleepwalking right now.
Just because you're brokering deals. That's it.
I was just kind of ready for the promotion.
But you're the owner.
Well, I was the owner of the Oakley Group, but I wanted to be more. If you look at the wealth chain of a pyramid, there's property managers, there's service, there's third-party vendors, there's property management, then there's equity, in ownership. I mean, it goes like this, and not that this guy's any better than the janitor, none of that, but it's about time value of money. And having a family, I saw that I could make 1% commission on this $100 million sale, or I could make 10% being in the promote stack by acquiring it and sponsoring the deal, doing it myself. So it's
owning it
owning it, yeah.
So at this point, you're buying and selling. So what is you, in essence? You said you left. What do you guys do now? Like, how did they transition into quote unquote leaving? Like Warren Buffett told you to. What did you transition into doing? All buy and hold?
Yeah, I mean, Warren didn't tell me. The
sure.
subliminal message was like, okay,
make sure we tag him in this
video. If you're not uncomfortable, here's what I'll tell somebody listening to this. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not doing enough. And I was comfortable. I was making good money.
Yeah.
You know, I had the car I wanted to drive. I had the lake house I wanted. I mean, I really had it good. But I felt like God wanted to use me on a bigger stage.
Sure.
And that wasn't selfish. It was almost kind of a little scary. Like God wanted to, when you feel in your heart that God wants to promote you, you just got to step into it.
Right.
And I was scared, man.
Yeah.
I had people tell me like, you're crazy. You've worked this long to build your brand, and now you're going to just give it to the guy that's just give it to the guy behind you and go do this other thing. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Wow.
So now, you know, I transitioned and left in 2020.
Okay.
You know, I had been buying and I started my development deal in 2018.
So on the side.
On the side.
So you're running. So let me backtrack.
And that's important because you can do things on the side.
You can do both, no doubt.
As long as you have arm's length and you're not breaking rules and you're being open and honest with your peers, which we did. But I see this time and time again. It's okay to have that day job.
Yeah.
That's producing income and then feeding your wealth bucket over here.
I agree.
Your wealth
Totally.
engine.
Yes.
So it's so important to have both.
Yes. So you're in, let's go back a little bit. So 15, 16, 17, when you guys are killing it, you number two, number one, 14, 15, 16. You're just brokering deals, meaning you are the multifamily kingpin real estate agent type person.
That's right.
So sell it for $1 million, you get your percentage, you're stacking like that. Okay. You go into 20, and so in 18, you started buying in 18 individually?
I started buying in 2007 and 8. Okay.
Okay.
I started buying. When I made commissions, it was like burning a hole in my pocket. I would go buy a duplex, a house on
okay.
I would start buying.
So you had been doing multifamily, but you're still buying the small things, the duplexes, the single family homes and things like that. Okay. So leading from 2007 to 2018.
I'm buying stuff while also brokering. When I broker and make money, I buy something. Broker,
use it.
Boom.
Buy
Just continue. If I ever had any cash, I would find
something
things to invest in.
Okay. How many did you accumulate from 7 to 18?
Let's say 7 to 20 was about 2,000 units.
All over the state or all over the country?
Mostly in Alabama and in Chattanooga.
That's a lot of units.
So
David.
Chattanooga, Coleman, Athens.
Any big multifamilies in there?
One big one. Our biggest one is called the Union at Cooper Hill. It's on Montclair Road.
Yeah.
And it's 281 units.
But other than that, there's just smaller apartment complexes?
No, we've got some that are 150 units, 100. So it was.
How many of those 2,000 did you buy with other people?
Well, keep in mind some of those we sold.
Yeah,
so some of that 2,000 we sold. I would probably say, probably 75% of them with other people.
Different people.
Different people.
Okay, so here's another question I get asked all the time. And when you would say you and I bought one together, would y'all start an LLC? And then say you and Luke bought one together, would you and Luke start? I mean, how many different business LLCs?
I think we write a check for the state of Alabama at one time, or for 50 LLCs. I mean, every property needs to have its own individual LLC.
Right. Wow.
It's a cheap way to insure yourself.
It's the cheapest, safest way to get insurance.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 2020, where did you transition into after you've accumulated 2,000 units? Well, 2,000 units is a lot of people's dream to have that many units overall. So in 2020, where did you transition into doing totally?
So 2020, we made the decision.
Heck of a time
to move. we made the decision to leave Berkadia and pivot and go all in on the Oakley Group ownership, development, real estate shop.
No more brokering.
No more brokering. Okay, which was really, really interesting to go then meet with my competitors at Cushman & Wakefield and other places, because these guys who were my, not enemies, but I mean, we all have these egos, and you walk past your competitor, whether it's at a restaurant or wherever it is, you're like, I mean, it's a small world, and we're fighting for the same breadcrumbs, and it's been fun to see those relationships. Once you take the competitive piece out of it, now we're looking to buy from them or sell with them.
Yeah.
But anyway, we started our first build-to-rent development in 2018. Okay. Saw that happening over in the West Coast and in Phoenix, and I said, that's an idea that we need to bring over here to the Southeast. So we were one of the first build-to-rent developers in the Southeast.
What does that mean?
Build-to-rent is a coined phrase for horizontal multifamily projects. Horizontal meaning more one-story, maybe two-story, more like single-family homes that are on one plat with one master water meter with an office leasing agent. So it's like building
townhomes.
Yeah, I mean, you can a lot of the people coin it differently, but it's
people hate the word townhomes, but like it's not apartment. It is.
It's horizontal.
It's buildings.
It's more horizontal like that, and it's
you.
lower density. So your typical garden style, meaning 3-story, 4-story apartment community, is going to be 18 to 24 units per acre.
Okay.
So our developments are more in the range of 8 to 14 units per acre.
Gotcha.
So we're lower density, less impact.
More expensive on rent, though.
We are more expensive on rent.
Just simply because it's a better value, a better experience.
That's what we aim for. So we started that again while I was at Bercadia. I mean, again,
because you're
you're
doing all over the country. So you say, you see this, hey, they were doing this. We need to bring this back to Birmingham or the Southeast and do it there.
Yeah, so we found a site in Huntsville. Okay. I know nothing about development. Nothing.
Okay, great.
And I go, but I think this will work. So I'm going, all right, well, what do I do next? The next thing you do is you go find your canvas. Okay. Where can this go? Well, Huntsville is just, think about Huntsville in 2018.
Oh, I know.
17, 18.
Yeah.
Just starting to get the momentum.
Okay.
Going. So I go find 60 acres up there, and we bid on it. We get it. Sanford alumni who gave it to me. She goes, David, I've got 4 or 5 people looking at this site, but we're going to pick you because, you know why? Because I went to this school called Howard College. That's now Sanford University.
Wow.
We're going to give you the opportunity. And I was up front with her. I was like, I have never developed anything before. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
This is the team that I put together. This is going to be a great learning experience for me. We want to do something special here, and we'd love the opportunity. And we got it. So we built 276 units. We started those in 18, 19.
All horizontal.
All horizontal.
Okay.
It's called the Cottages of Old Monrovia. If you Google it, just type in the Cottages of Old Monrovia, and you'll see this 1- and 2-story, single-family townhome development with, streets and alleys and pocket parks and sidewalks. 276 units on 26 acres.
It's beautiful.
And we built that, and then we sold that in April of 2022.
So if you do this, how many different models do you have? So I'm looking at this thing on the Google, and how many different homes? Because that's what they are. They're beautiful homes. How many different homes?
How many different floor plans?
Yeah.
That one has about 8 different floor plans.
Okay, so it's just 8 floor plans. It is track homes. I hope that's not a negative term. It is track homes.
It's not track homes.
Yeah.
If the architect hears that, he'll
kill me.
Slap your wrist.
Take that out. So it's homes that have 8 different floor plans, and they reproduce those floor plans. But you do this with the whole intention of renting them.
Absolutely.
Why would you not sell these? And go answer that. Why would you not sell these?
All right. Well, I'm biased to rental product for a number of reasons, but I got to give a lot of credit to Niket Architecture, my friend Louis Niket. I think that he's a master of site layouts and just design, and this has a feel like 30A. Your new urbanism kind of layout, and so the layout is equally as important. The site plan is equally as important to me as are the finishes and the layout of the actual homes. And so that's where Lewis and his team have done just a great job. So we've built this to feel like a 1950s neighborhood where people ride their bikes, there's dogs, you feel safe, people know their neighbors, And so why would people rent versus why would I build this to rent it versus own? Well, most of these renters are renters by choice. They don't have to live there. They have fixed incomes, they've got good jobs, but they're choosing to rent. There's a big difference. Some people have to rent. Doesn't make that person less valued as the person who makes more money, but like people, we want to target people who choose to rent because of their lifestyle. Maybe they're a grandparent. We call those baby chasers. They're chasing their grandkids. They may have a place in town because they want to spend more time with their grandkids. They don't want to buy a house in a secondary location. But from a development standpoint, so when we finished this product, we sold them for $330,000 a unit, and these average about 1,200 square feet each. So if I'm a home builder and I build all of these, typically I'm not building 276 at one time. I'm going to do 20, then another 20. And so I get the benefit of selling all 276 at one time for one number, $330 a door. Whenever are renting them, but I sold them to one buyer is what I'm getting at. If I were to build these as a home builder, I don't want to deal with the punch list.
No.
If the foundation just so happened to slip or slide, and I don't want the lawsuit. Right. That's just, it's something that home builders talk about a lot. Yeah. You talk to anybody, and it's just hard when you're dealing with emotional homeowners, which I'm one.
Me too.
And if it's not perfect, then you're
get
gonna
Johnny
hear about
back out there.
Yeah, and so you do that times 276 units. I'd much rather rent to people, and they enjoy it. They know it's not permanent, and then sell it to an investment stake buyer who values it actually more than what the home's worth.
So so this is a great question, because I thought you were owning these and then had a management group that rents them. So you don't do that.
We build these and we lease these and we manage these. Okay.
But you just said you sold them.
We sold that first.
Okay.
We sold the first one.
So you do both. Or you buy, develop, and then sell, and then develop, then keep? You kind of a combination of both?
So the first partner that I had in this deal was Capstone Building.
Okay.
And they are more merchant builders. A merchant builder is a developer who builds it to sell it. Okay.
Okay.
My partner on the programmatic, Adveneer Oakley is our joint venture partnership. Adveneer Oakley Capital and Development. We have a build-to-rent platform, and our goal is to build 10,000 rental units by 2028. And we've got 1,500 under construction currently, and we've got a pipeline of another 5,000. Our platform with the Leo brand, which I'll get into in just a moment, is an aggregation platform. It is let's go build these and hold them, and then let's look at an exit in 8 to 10 years, okay, with 10,000 units.
Exit with the 10K.
Right, 10,000.
Sell
units.
them to some big State Street,
Starwood or Blackstone, or exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the plan. And so what we want, the goal, again, going back to why do I do this?
Yeah.
What's the purpose? It's not just to make a bunch of money and buy a bigger boat. I'm fine with my.
You like the boat you got?
I like my 23-foot Bennington. It's fine. Right. It gets me where I'm going.
That's right.
But we created this brand, back in 2020, 21. We branded it Leo.
Okay.
It means love each other. Because as you recall, back in 1920, when we were entertaining brands and logos and ideas for the brand for our build to rent platform, the country was divided. People were fighting over which news station we should watch. Yeah. I mean, it was just a debacle, and I was going, let's get back to the basics. Like, what happened to love your neighbor?
Yeah.
So that's where Leo was.
So
born.
What does Leo brand do now? What does it do? Like, how does it function?
So whenever you move into one of our communities,
okay,
our build to rent communities, it's going to be Leo at Jamestown or Leo at Flint Crossing or Leo, and so that Leo is emphasized by first service from our maintenance people, from our staff, that you're going to be loved on. We're not gonna throw you into a Bible study, but we're going to love you. We're going to help. We're going to help you.
We're not going to beat you with the Bible. We're going to love you.
Find the dry cleaner in town, the best schools, get you plugged in.
Yeah.
We also partner with a group called Apartment Life, which is a Christian organization that plants couples on site in a home. And they basically act as, event planners and community builders. And so there's a wind down Wednesday. There's yoga on Saturday.
Asset.
And so, if someone's family member, if there's if someone passes away in your family, or someone's in a tragic situation, or someone's just depressed, just needs hey, do you want to go to the movies and hang out? I mean, that's part of the infrastructure in all of our Leo developments. Now,
are these units, any of the Leo units, are they targeted to old people, young people, Gen Z? What is there a target on these things?
That's a really good question. So there's been studies done by a number of people, and we call it the barbell effect. Okay. So to answer your question, we have more of the younger millennials, Gen Z, newlyweds, maybe small kids, but not in grade school yet. And then we have less of I've got 3 kids in middle and high school.
Our demographic. Me or you's not living there.
Right.
Okay.
And then we've got, and we might have some of those, but it's not heavy. And then on this right side is the, 55 and older.
Empty nesters.
Gotcha. Fixed income, baby chasers. I don't want to deal with electricians and plumbers and yard maintenance kind of, age bracket.
Those types of people. So tell me this. Tell me all the business things, and I could probably ask 47 more questions about the business part of it. So during this transition, tell me about family, because the whole point of us sitting talking is like the amount of success you have is pretty astronomical. 2,000 units, and then the number of units, 10,000 units by 2028. That's crazy. Tell me about your wife. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your kid. I mean, give me a synopsis of when you go home. Who are you there?
I'm daddy when I get home.
That's right.
I love it. I mean, I love being a dad. I wanted kids really bad, and I don't know how much you know about me, but this is my second marriage.
Okay.
And I didn't have any kids in my first marriage. I really wanted kids.
Yeah.
And so being able to have kids with a girl from my hometown, from Florence, is phenomenal. We've got a 4-year-old son named Ryan, a 2-year-old girl, Lita, who's like watching 2 people. She's got a lot of energy, and then my third is 6 months, Nolan, boy. But I love it. I mean, it when you have kids, it just reframes everything.
Yeah.
And I think I became a more relationship person just having kids. I mean, when I'd have conversations with other people and they were talking about their kids before I had kids, it's like it just kind of rolls off. It's kind of like, okay, whatever. I mean, so what? They're back in school. Okay, great. Now let's talk about the deal.
Yeah.
But now it's like you just really relate to other people on so many more levels. So it's something that I always wanted, and I love it. And moving out of the brokerage space was intentional because it was so demanding. I mean, when you're a broker, you have to be on. If you want to be competitive, you have to be on all the time.
Right.
Emails, text. I mean,
it's a speed game.
And it's fast paced, and it'll burn you out.
Yeah. I tell people this: you can't explain to an adult, a married couple that doesn't have kids until they have kids, because it's like when that human comes out, you put a new set of glasses on.
Yeah.
And you view life through a totally different lens. Because you're right. Before I had kids, I could probably give 2 flying craps that your kid went back to school yesterday.
Right.
But now I want to know where your oldest goes to school. Like, where's he going to school? Is he at Mount Brooks? Is he at Best Day? Where does he go to school?
IPC.
Okay, goes to IPC.
Day school.
What's he into? Like, is he a sports kid? Is he a gamer? Is he into what's he into?
Yeah, he's into Transformers right now.
That's right.
Dinosaurs, Transformers.
So dinosaurs. So like I can sit here and tell you 47 dinosaur stories about how Tegan, that's all he ever did. From the time he was like 3 to the time he's like 7, the sucker all he wanted to do is he knew every dinosaur.
Oh yeah.
Like
blow you away.
Blow your mind.
Yeah.
he'll say a so-and-so saurus. And I'm like, that's not even a dinosaur, bro. He's like, oh, yeah, it is. And he starts going. So those things are fascinating.
Yeah.
But you can't explain that to someone that doesn't have it. Doesn't make us any better. It's just a commonality that we have.
Yeah. And I've got friends who choose not to have kids, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
It's just God puts different desires and wants in all of us, and I mean, it's something that I wanted from a very early age, and it's just I can have the worst day ever, and I think about, they say you can't be stressed and grateful at the same time.
That's great.
So let's start by being grateful. And I mean, when I think about just what gifts children are, and Mallory is phenomenal. She's my wife, and she's a chemical engineer. She worked at Southern Company. She's smarter than she's one of those who scored.
Oh yeah,
we envied her score.
And she's a 30-something.
Yeah. And she worked in Boston and Houston, and she's now stay-at-home mom, and that was a big transition move for her. But she's a wonderful mom. She's a wonderful cook. She's a great artist.
That's great.
She supports us in our business, and she's a wonderful mother. So it's been. I got promoted. God continues to promote us, despite deserving any of it, and it's been a good ride.
Talk about going home. You get home and you do all the things that you do during the day. Do you and Mallory talk about those things? Do y'all sit and discuss the deal or not the deal, or this went bad or that went great? Do y'all discuss that? Does she ask, or do you just go home and unload?
Well, sometimes a lot of times the kids take the air out of the room, so there's not a lot of air left to talk.
No doubt.
And then we're kind of in that stage right now where we're tired, and like we might just be so tired. So we have intentional date nights, and we fail a lot of weeks. But Thursday nights we try to go out and have dinner. We love sitting at the bar, sliding into Bottega or Boca.
Are you going out this Thursday night?
This Thursday night I'm in Dallas.
Oh, okay. We're going out Thursday night. We could double date.
Well, we can rain check it.
Sure, absolutely.
But Thursday night's usually our night.
That's good.
And that's when we really download. Like, what are you doing? How are you doing? What should we say less in front of the kids and more of in front of the kids? And that's our time. But at home, if there's something hot, the real estate can get sideways. There's a lot of things that I come home with, and I'm one of those guys who, if you can't tell, I'm gonna tell you what I'm thinking.
That's great. Yeah,
and I'm gonna share.
Some people don't appreciate that. Like I'm that way. I typically tell you what's going on, and some people are our best friends, and some people don't particularly care to be around us.
Yeah,
but
like today,
totally fine with that.
Like today, this morning, I was brushing my teeth, and I go, "Honey, I'm just letting you know, today is a big day. It's going to be a stressful day today. I got some stuff." She goes, "Well, what's going on?" I said, "We got a deal that a landowner that I've got to tell the landowners that their property's not worth $12 million anymore. It's worth $7 million.
Oh,
and we're under contract with them. But with the 10-year Treasury moving to 4.2 today, 4.20, and with banks and equity shrinking up like they have, the deal doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so we either gonna, so you got to just, it's tough love. I mean, I hated to tell that message, but I told, like, that's an example of me dropping that to Mallory just so she knows, like, hey babe, like, if you text me
this
today,
is what I'm dealing with.
Like, I'm dealing with just after 2:00, I'll be like, I got this podcast, and I'll be chill after that, when I get home. But that's my big item for the day.
That's awesome. Hey, as we wrap up, I got fast questions for you because I mean we're running out of time, but I would love to figure out how to do more of this because you're extremely intriguing. So let's talk about the kids real quick. Mm-hmm. What's your and on these next 4 or 5 questions, I want just super fast thoughts. So what's your go-to activity with your kids?
The park.
Perfect. That's great.
We like going to the park.
Yep, we ride bikes a lot too. Are you on social media at all?
I am. Instagram and LinkedIn. I have not been on Twitter.
Who is your favorite follow on social media? Someone that you enjoy seeing when they pop up in your feed.
I'm going to say I like looking at Naket architecture and design because I wanted to be an architect as a kid.
Sure.
And he just cranks out some great stuff.
Perfect. That's great. What are you learning right now? Like, what do you like? You're being intentional. I want to learn this.
How to be a better dad. I mean, we're in those real critical years. Where a 4-year-old, gosh, he listens to everything,
mm-hmm.
and so that's new.
Yeah.
I mean, 2's different than 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning. We do a small group for parenting, and I'm one of. It's time for me to step up my parenting game.
There you go.
More.
That's great.
So I'm challenging myself in reading. Some
Yeah.
more.
What's your favorite vacation that you've ever taken?
I'm going to say Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I know that's not glamorous, but there's, especially with it being so hot,
Yeah.
taking the whole family out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming this past summer for 10 days was just, we had several moments where the sun bleeding through those aspen leaves and my kids and family sitting on a blanket, just with the Rockies in the back, it's just unbelievable. It just had some moments like that, just priceless.
That's great. Last question. What's your favorite vacation that you've never taken?
Italy with my wife.
Just you and her.
Just the 2 of us.
That's wonderful. Good. Well, look, as we wrap up, where can someone get in touch with you if they wanted to ask questions? There may be someone out there that's got a deal. I don't know. Where's the best place to find David Oakley?
Best place to reach me is our website.
Okay.
I go to oakleygroup.com.
Got it.
And then click on contact, and it
Perfect.
shoots an email to me. And then on LinkedIn, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn.
Okay, great.
You'll see me there, David Oakley. And please reach out. I check that probably once a week, the messages on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Good.
I'm not going to give you my email yet
Don't do
because
that.
I don't know how big your audience is.
That's fine. Don't do it. They go to Oakley Group. They want to find you. They'll get you. So perfect. Hey, David, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great.
Awesome. Thanks
All
for
right.
having me. It's
You got
been a
it.
pleasure.
You good?